practice. Good morning. Good morning, good morning. We'll be hearing the door quite a bit as everybody streams on in. But let's just begin by sitting nice and tall and closing the eyes. And taking a nice breath in, a nice breath out. Allowing yourself to settle. Allowing yourself to arrive. Allowing yourself to experience the peace within. Feel that every breath you breathe in is a gift from the divine, from the universe, a gift of existence, a gift of life. And feel that every breath out is an experience of gratitude, an expression of acceptance of that gift, an experience of love, and a sense of belonging to a greater wholeness. Breathing in and breathing out. Allow yourself to arrive. Allow yourself to be present. Placing the right hand on the heart and the left hand over the right. And together we'll lift our voices in one beautiful Om. Take a nice breath in. And bowing the head in honor of all that is, all that ever was, all that ever will be. And then draw the face back to center, release the hands, flutter the eyes open. Welcome. Good to see you all. Welcome to everyone on Facebook who's joining us today. And welcome to everyone on Spreaker, and welcome to everyone. So today is the last day of the Samskara and Samsara retreat. And today is also the YTT graduation, so congratulations to those special women who have taken this amazing journey with us. Congratulations to the retreaters for the amazing amount of work that you have done this weekend. I know that there have been moments that there has been, a sense of inner tension. This is not easy work. It's not simple work. It's not straightforward work. It's actually quite complicated, and there's a lot involved. And so I'm going to take the opportunity now to just review a few points that we touched base on over the weekend, introducing that also to our visitors and to our friends on Facebook and elsewhere, so that everybody is kind of on the same page with where this talk is going. We have a couple of seats up here. We have two over there. We have a few over here as well, so please do come sit and enjoy. So the first thing that we want to make sure everybody understands is that in the tradition of yoga and in the tradition of Hinduism, which is more accurately called Sanatana Dharma, that the word samsara is indicative of a cycle of birth, maintenance, death, and rebirth. And so the word samsara is used in a larger scope to explain that there is a cyclical existence that we all experience, that this is not our only time around, that we have been here before and we will be here again, and that we have work to do in this life and in every life. And if you don't adhere to the idea of reincarnation in the greater scope of life, birth, and then rebirth, then perhaps we can understand reincarnation as hour after hour, minute after minute, opportunity after opportunity. In every single moment, we are born into another opportunity to resolve the karmas that we carry in this life. We are born into another opportunity to become kinder people, more compassionate people, better people, good people. We are constantly born into that experience. And maybe the example of repeating mistakes is a good example to use, where, we've oftentimes said to ourselves, and I think this is probably a pretty universal statement, how many times do I need to repeat this mistake before I finally learn? Yeah. So we are consistently reincarnating ourselves, either into a state of suffering or into a state of healing. So samsara is the cycle of birth, life, death, and rebirth, whether on the greater scale of actual birth and death or on the smaller scale of moment by moment within this very lifetime. Samskara is action, intention, preparation, plan. It's the entirety of the experience of life. The word samskara is the experience of being alive and everything that entails for each one of us. And there are in Sanatana Dharma several scriptures that talk about samskara, and there's actually lists of particular samskara that should be included in every life in order to ensure health, vibrancy, a sense of belonging, a sense of overall wellness and spiritual upliftedness. There are also samskaras that take us in the opposite direction, and those should not be committed, although we do. But they are understood to be harmful to us. And throughout our life, we will experience some combination of uplifting samskara and what we could call downward spiraling samskara, the samskaras that harm us. We've all committed these acts. We've lied, we've cheated, we've doubted, we have mistrusted or distrusted, we have had a lack of faith, and we have committed acts of violence. And there is no one in this room who is exempt from that. Every single person who has ever been alive has committed samskaras that are harmful to self and or others. And so this weekend, for the retreat attendees, has been about looking at samskaras and trying to find a method that could support us in resolving the samskaras of the past that have a karmic energy attached to them, and learning ways to avoid harmful samskara in the future, focusing more emphatically on the uplifting samskaras, the mantra, the meditation, the yoga practice, the tai chi, going to church on a regular basis, being kind, being of service, bless you. Whatever it happens to be for a person, how do we empower ourselves to more emphatically focus and practice those uplifting samskaras? And so the first thing that we decided was that, well, we need to kind of understand the way the mind works, right? And so the mind is explained in a multitude of different ways. But for the purposes of this retreat, we focused on a very simple explanation of the function of the mind, the consciousness and the subconsciousness. And we talked about how the subconscious mind is like a supercomputer. According to individuals like Bruce Lipton, the subconscious mind is capable of taking in, brace yourself, 40 million bits of information per second. 40 million. Can you even imagine? The subconscious mind takes in 40 million bits of information per second and processes that information into a program that is called your understanding of life. Many of the base bits of information were accumulated from ages 0 to 7, and that's the time of life when your personality is really kind of set into place. It's not unchangeable, you can change it, but it's pretty powerful. And the understanding that we develop during those first 7 years will generally become our understanding of everything that happens to us in this life. As we're accumulating those 40 million bits of information per second, they're being integrated into the greater program of the subconscious mind, and they're being used to verify and validate our existing understanding and our existing belief system. So if we're an individual who walks through life feeling, I'm not worthy of love, I'm not worthy of forgiveness, I'm not worthy of goodness, then that belief system is based in some series of events that happen between ages 0 and 7, sometimes later as well, but generally speaking, ages 0 through 7, and every bit of information that the subconscious mind brings in, it is looking to apply as a validating factor to continually reinforce that belief. That's a really complicated but also scary concept. That you have a mind that is that powerful that it spends your whole life trying to validate something that is actually a lie. Think about that for a moment. Yeah. Something that is actually a lie. Because the subconscious is logical in that it is constantly reinforcing a preset program. It's not creative enough to put itself into this present moment and look at what's happening in this present moment for the simple sake of what's happening in this present moment. It can only ever apply the information that it takes in to something that happened in the past. And because it doesn't want to see itself as wrong, the ego is very closely tied to the subconscious mind. So the subconscious mind will use whatever information it has to validate itself, to keep the ego in charge, Every so often, we receive a blessing, and we're introduced to a practice or a concept that takes us into the other part of our mind, the conscious part of our mind. Maybe we have a good friend or a loved one who says to us, you should try meditation. You're so anxious, so stressed out. I heard meditation is really good for you. Give meditation a try. And so you seek out a teacher or a school, and you nervously walk into class, and you say, I don't know, I was told maybe I should try meditation to get over my anxiety. And the teacher welcomes you into class, sits you down, explains a little bit to you, but probably not too much. Lets you have the experience of just being there. The moment you close your eyes, something interesting happens. You diminish the power of the subconscious mind a little bit, because with the eyes closed, you cannot take in so many bits of information. So the eyes close, and the sources of those 40 million bits of information reduce, and you are limited in what you can continue to emphasize or validate those pre-existing beliefs and ideas with. Not just because you closed your eyes, but because you closed your eyes in a certain way. You were asked to close your eyes and remain aware, not go to sleep. So because you close your eyes and you're asked to remain aware and to pay attention on purpose, you're giving your conscious mind the opportunity to stretch a little bit. Now, the conscious mind is like a very slow-speed computer. It only takes in 1/1,000,000th of the amount of information per second that the subconscious mind brings in. So the conscious mind only brings in about 40 pieces of information per second. It still seems like a lot, but it's a lot less than what that supercomputer subconscious mind is doing. And as a result, it can focus more. It can pay attention more to what it's actually seeing. It can choose to take in even less information. It can actually choose to take in one piece of information at a time. Your conscious mind can choose to focus on your breath only. Your conscious mind can choose to focus on a mantra only, on a prayer only, on God only. Your conscious mind can bring you to center and practice something in yoga that we call witnessing. Witnessing is the ability to see something but understand that it is not part of you. So, for example, you lay on the ground and look up at the sky and watch the clouds go by. And in the physical experience of being alive, you know those clouds are not part of you. So you just witness them. Spiritually speaking, of course, they're part of you. But right now we're talking physical. And so you get to witness them in all their glory and understand that whatever they do has nothing to do with you. Now, we take that conscious ability to witness and we say, wow, these subconscious belief patterns actually have nothing to do with me. They're just something that my mind adopted in order to try to explain who I'm supposed to be in this life. And you know what? I am worthy of love. I am worthy of forgiveness. I am worthy of being alive. I am worthy of happiness. Now, let me begin the hard work of figuring out what that actually means. Welcome to your retreat weekend. Overriding the beliefs and behaviors of the past that were based on the activity of the subconscious mind, which is not an accurate reflection of who you really are, and beginning the process of unwinding those beliefs and then cultivating a more accurate perception of yourself, of your life, of your meaning. Through the practice of mantra, through the practice of meditation, through the practice of scriptural study or the study of uplifted information. You know, it could be from the Bible or from the Quran or from the Yoga Sutras, wherever your choice is. It could be a beautiful poet like Rumi, but something that calls you to remember the goodness in your own heart and to be more detached from these false beliefs that keep you in a limited state of being and in a state of suffering. So I'd like to read to you a quote by Pema Chodron, a beloved teacher in Buddhism. We might feel that somehow we should try to eradicate the feelings of pleasure and pain, loss and gain, praise and blame, fame and disgrace. But a more practical approach would be to get to know them, to see how they hook us in, see how they color our perception of reality, see how they aren't that solid. Then, these 8 worldly samskara become a means for growing wiser as well as kinder and more content. So, when we're working spiritually with the concept of samskara, with the concept of actions that are either increasing our suffering and confusion or increasing our happiness, health, and wellness, we need to understand what those behaviors are, where they stem from, and to develop practices that can reduce the harmful ones and increase the helpful ones, the supportive ones. So that means that we actually have to learn about our behavior. We have to watch our behavior and come to understand what is it that we define as pain, shame, blame. What is it that we define as happiness, joy, peace? Do we really have a valid understanding of these things? Or are we just kind of lumping things together and saying everything is anger or everything is love? Because the reality is that not every emotion is anger. We need to look at our emotions and recognize that the subconscious may want us to bulk everything together under the label of anger. But we can't treat grief like anger. If we do, we will only become confused. And then our suffering will increase. Does that make sense? We talked about this yesterday a bit for the retreat attendees. We need to treat the emotion that we're experiencing appropriately so that we are not continuing to behave in ways that further our suffering and instead are adopting behaviors and methods that are increasing our healing. So we must treat anger like anger, grief like grief, joy like joy, passion like passion, doubt like doubt. We must treat our emotions accurately and appropriately for what they're bringing to the table. We also need to sit with those emotions and not, as we talked about, bear down and push them out. Yes, emotions can feel very constipating. They get stuck in our GI tract. They get stuck in the intestines. They get stuck in the heart, the lungs, the tissues of our body. But we can't treat them like poop when we're constipated and just try to force them out. We actually need to support the gentle release of them, the gentle release, through acts of non-attachment. We sit, we realize anger is arriving, as Thich Nhat Hanh says. We recognize the qualities of anger. We recognize that anger may not actually even be what we think it is. We give it much more power than it actually has. We allow it to be present for a little while without acting on it. And we watch and pay attention as it actually begins to resolve itself. Because energy, or rather emotion, is just energy that is shifting and changing as it moves through the universe. Through your universe. The universe of your body, the universe of your life, of your mind. Emotions are simply energy that are shifting and changing and evolving. They're also trying to find their balance, their homeostasis, their wellness. And anger, when we feel anger, is a sign of imbalance in ourselves, and anger is a sign of imbalance in its own energy, being out of balance. So anger wants to resolve into something else, and it will if you allow it to. But we tend to adopt the behavior or the samskara of grasping onto that anger and saying, wow, that really belongs to me. That's my anger, and I'm keeping it for a while. I'm not letting you off the hook. And I'm not letting me off the hook. Instead, I'm just going to rage in an open fire and try to burn everything in path. So we're holding that anger hostage. We're keeping it. We're keeping it stuck in a state of low vibration. We're keeping it and us stuck in a state of the subconscious mind. Instead of allowing ourselves to open our clenched fist, let the anger move through freely, allow it to transform itself into the next state that it wishes to be in, which is typically forgiveness. Anger doesn't want to stay angry. It wants to experience freedom too. It wants to be resolved also. And so once we sit down and we adopt the practice of noticing the emotions that are present, noticing, getting to know them, having a relationship with them that is a healthy relationship, not a harmful relationship, then we begin to understand that these emotions are actually not quite what we thought they were. Anger is not the stone that we thought it was. It's not the boulder that we can only pick away at. No, it's actually more like a cloud that has a lot of fluidity and flexibility to it and is constantly changing right in front of our eyes if we would only open them to see the changes happening. So there's a story about Rinpoche. One of the early Rinpoches, who is considered to be an awakened one. As a boy, he was beloved for his radiance in being, his joyful heart, his playfulness. People everywhere fell in love with him. And the king of that time loved him so much that he adopted him and brought him home to the palace and raised him as his son. His mere presence made everyone happy. So one day when the boy was playing, he went to the palace roof, and he brought with him a few sacred items that belonged to the king, including his scepter and his bell. And while he was up on the roof playing, he looked out at the area beyond the palace, and he thought, I wonder what would happen if I threw these objects over the roof. Where would they go? Where would they land? And so being a child, and a child of curiosity, he did this. He took these items and he threw them. And as they fell, they hit 2 people and killed them. The community and the king became irate at the behavior of this boy. And the community demanded that the boy be exiled and sent out to live alone in the wilderness, to do penance for his crime. The person who became known as Rinpoche accepted his punishment, went out into the wilderness, and sat with us for a little while. And he came to understand that our behavior is so fleeting that in a matter of a short period of time, he experienced both love and rejection, praise and blame. And he came to realize that we should not be attached to either one. That peace is actually found in a sense of intimate detachment. Not cold detachment. Not, I don't care, do what you want. But intimate detachment. When we make the active choice to free everyone and everything from our grasp. And we simply live our life in a way that is non-harming, full of compassion, full of peace, full of love and devotion. And that is actually where freedom truly exists. The freedom to find out who you really are. The freedom to come to know the divine in the way that is appropriate for you. Whether you call yourself a Catholic or a Jew or a Muslim or a Native American Indian or a yogi or whatever. It's only when you're free that you are most able to have that relationship and have it really, really take root in the heart. St. Thomas said, "The greatest way to praise the Lord is in stillness and silence. And in order to do so, you cannot be attached to things that cause you to be loud and reckless." Yeah. So true. So, wow. That was faster than I thought it was going to be. So Samsara and Samskara. Whether you agree with the idea of reincarnation or not, it doesn't really matter. Every single person can understand that we commit repetition in this life. We commit the same mistakes. It takes us a long time to learn. It takes us a long time to open up to the potential that exists within our heart, within our mind, particularly the conscious mind. It takes a long time for us to awaken to goodness. For some, very few individuals, it only takes a few moments. Like the Rinpoche, who learned very quickly that to attach oneself to either praise or blame is a bit ridiculous, because they will shift depending upon the temperament of whoever it is that you're dealing with. And every one of us have also experienced that in this life. We've been praised in one moment for doing something and then criticized in the next. And the moment that we were criticized, we went to that subconscious programming and said, oh, I guess I really am not worthy. If I was worthy, they wouldn't be criticizing me. They'd be praising me. We've failed to see that actually the most potential for growth is present in the moments when we are receiving criticism and we are still holding strongly and consciously and compassionately into the wholeness that we know we have the capacity for. and we recognize that any criticism that comes our way is either a gift or the perspective of someone else that doesn't really have very much to do with me at all. Criticism is an opinion, and opinions come from someone else's subconscious programming. I mean, many of you have heard the story about the laundry and about how when my husband and I were first married, we had these really nice laundry baskets. And I would walk into the room and Ed's socks would be on the floor. And I would pick the socks up and put them in the laundry basket. And then I would say to him, could you please do me a favor, put your laundry in the laundry basket? And he would say, of course. And then I'd walk in the room later and the laundry would be on the floor, not in the laundry basket. This was a point of contention for a few years. Pick your laundry up and put it in a laundry basket. And then as I'm saying those words, I am picking his laundry up and putting it in the laundry basket with maybe a little bit of violence. And he would be like, okay, I'll try. Always trying to make me happy, you know. And then one day we had this really pretty loud conversation about it. Why can't you put your laundry in the laundry basket? Da, 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 da. He let me go on and on and on like a good husband does, you know. And then after I was done, he said, maybe I don't want to put my laundry in the laundry basket because that's your laundry basket, not mine. And I just kind of looked at him and said, really? Okay, let's get in the car. And we drove out to I don't know, Bath, Bed, Linens, whatever that store is called. We walked through the store. This is a nice laundry basket. You like this one? Okay, great. Let's get this one. And we're going to bring it home. And this will be your laundry basket. Guess where his laundry was the next day? On the floor. On the floor. Can you even imagine? What's up with you? We just got you this really nice laundry basket and you're still not using it. And like a wonderful man that he is and was, you know, he just let me go. And then he said, you picked it out. He said, you picked out the laundry basket. I didn't. It's not really mine. It's not the laundry basket I would have bought. And why didn't you say that when we were at Bed Bath & Beyond? I mean, come on, man.
I totally get it.
Totally. Right? And I got it too, but I didn't want to. So I said, okay, let's get in the car. And we go out to, I don't know, someplace. I think we went to 5 stores. He finally found this laundry basket that was 3 parts. It had a stainless steel frame that you had to put together. It had wheels. It was a little bit on the industrial side. He thought it was amazing and that we should both actually get one. I was like, that's entirely too masculine for me. There's no way I'm using that. And he was like, well, why not? You know? So he talks me into getting 2 of these laundry baskets. And mind you, I didn't like the thing at all. We bring them home. We put them together. I've got one. He's got one. I kept my laundry basket because I knew that wasn't the laundry basket for me and he'd find another use for it. Come in the next day. Guess where his laundry is? On the friggin' floor. I love you so much. I know you're laughing right now. You know? I said, okay, what is it? Why is your laundry on the floor? Can you see all the samskaras that are going on here? Like, there's so many samskaras. Like, my expectation for the use of that laundry basket is based on my subconscious programming that my Nana, I have to credit for this, taught us that your laundry goes in the laundry basket, or you get in trouble as a child. And I carried that with me, and I still do. If I put my laundry on the floor, I cringe. But I put it there sometimes just to try to get over the programming of it, But what he said to me was, I don't really feel I need to put my laundry in a laundry basket. I'm not attached to that, I'm sorry. And I looked at him, and I had an epiphany. Like, there's no law written anywhere in this universe that says he must put his laundry in the laundry basket. Oh my God, that's my circus, that's my monkey. Totally. And I shared with our retreat attendees this beautiful little, I guess it's a meme, I don't know. It's Lucille Ball making one of her faces. And the caption says, the expression you make when you realize, oh my God, that is my circus, and those are my monkeys. And you can't blame anyone else. Anyone else. So I worked to let it go. To let go of the preconceived belief that all laundry must be put into the laundry basket. And instead, I changed sides of the bed so that my side would be closer to the door and his side was closer to the wall. And he could put his laundry wherever he wanted to because I wouldn't see it. And then I didn't have to impose my violence on his behavior. And I let him be. Now, some point later, he started using my laundry basket. That was not the right thing for him to do. Men in the room, I'm just giving you a heads up. There came another samskara. Yeah. So these samskaras are powerful. They're so powerful. But then they're not. They're only powerful because we give them power. If we invoke the conscious mind through the practice of meditation, through the practice of paying attention on purpose, what we find is that these preconceived notions about the way things are supposed to be actually don't hold any water whatsoever. They're a sieve with many, many, many holes, and the water runs right through them. They don't have any real solid validity. You are worthy. You are lovable. You are good. You are exactly as you are. And there is not one thing wrong with you. Because even the concept of wrongness is a samskara. And it is a samskara that will change. And you know how I know that? Because when I was younger, when I was probably about, I don't know, in my teens at some point, I was a Republican. Die hard, man. I mean, whoever the candidate was at that point in time really won me over. And I was really like, that makes so much sense to me. I'm going to be a Republican for life. And because it was all about family values, and it was not today's, no offense to anybody, it was not today's radical Republicanization of the political party. It was this Republican ideal of work ethic and family values, which, whether you agree or not, in my opinion, has really become the Democratic Party today. Or at least the moderate Democratic Party, not the extreme. If only we could get in the middle together, we'd be great. But then by the time I was in my early 20s, no. Those ideals went out the window, because I was introduced to something else. And that's called environmentalism, and the Green Party, and PETA in their earlier days. And, the idea that we need to be of service. And so I went from the Republican Party to the Green Party. From the Green Party, I went to the Democratic Party. From the Democratic Party, I went to the Independent Party. So many people do this. Very few people stay with one political party for their entire life because the party changes. And what you may have fallen in love with about the party initially will shift and change depending upon who it is that's running for office and what they feel is important. And that's based on their subconscious programming. So, be an independent thinker. Pay attention to the way things are shifting and changing every single day. And try not to grasp too hard to any one thing, except for two things. Try not to grasp too hard to any one thing, except two things. One is peace. You could call that love also. The other is that. God. Hold fast to that. To the concept of that. No matter what your concept of that is. Whether you are a Catholic or a Jew or a yogi or a pagan or whatever. The underlying principle of whatever tradition it is that you have faith in is that that exists. And there's not much more we can say about it because it's beyond our scope of understanding. And to try to limit it to fit within the programming of your subconscious mind reduces that to your ego. So hold fast to two things. Peace, which we could call love, and the understanding that that exists. And all we're doing in this life is trying to have a relationship to something that is very, very hard to reach. And we should not allow our ego or our subconscious programming to dictate us into a corner or pigeonhole us into having a limited relationship with something that is so vast that it could actually create this universe. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So samsara, samskara. The samsara for the yogis in the room and the ones who are practicing some tradition that embraces the idea of reincarnation, the ultimate is to not be reborn again. The ultimate is to go home to source, be absorbed into that, stay there. And if you come back, you only come back for the sake of serving humanity. For the sake of serving humanity. You could say also, let me make my mistakes today, go to sleep tonight, and wake up tomorrow morning as an absolutely awakened human being who lives only to be of service. To reducing the suffering that others experience. And let that be my path in this life. As a matter of fact, let me blink my eyes, and when my eyes open, let me have the understanding that the sole importance of myself in this life is to be of service to the alleviation of suffering and the boosting of love. And let it take only the blink of an eye for me to recognize that. That is the heart of reincarnation. We don't have to talk about lifetimes. We can talk about the blink of an eye. The blink of Brahma's eye. Not going to go there right now. That's another conversation. Yeah, it is. So what do you think? What are your thoughts, questions, ideas, concerns about this concept of samskara and this function of the brain that keeps us embedded in these harmful samskaras that actually really limit us? When if we would only embrace the conscious mind through the act of meditation, we would experience a freedom that is, freeing, for lack of a different word. What do you think, Cal?
Is the reason if we close our eyes, it quiets some of the subconscious because we're taking away one of the senses?
Yes.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's probably why a lot of the ancient masters, many times they recommended do your best to go beyond the senses.
Yes. And in yoga, control of the senses is optimally important. That you learn how to control your reaction to what you see, what you smell, what you taste, what you touch, what you hear. And in any tradition, you listen more to prayer and scripture than you do to anything else. Because there's truth in that. Whereas if left to your own ego, what you hear on the radio, what you hear anywhere else, you could blow anything out of proportion for any reason whatsoever. But there are certain things that we can tune into, like silence, which allows us to come toward balance a little bit more, allows us to negotiate a little bit more the inner realm of the heart. You know, love has a sound to it. It's quite beautiful. Vibrational qualities that exist in this world, in this body, in your body, in this universe. You speak to any person who is involved in the holistic sciences, and what they'll say to you is, we want to raise vibration. What are they talking about? They're talking about tuning into something that has more purity, something that is less corrupted than what these eyes can see, what these ears can hear, what this mouth can speak, what the skin can feel, what all the senses, what this nose can smell. Because when the nose smells something, the nose smells the beautiful spices from the kitchen and it goes, ooh, I like that. Can't wait for lunch. Now my tummy is growling. Yay. Love that ashram food. But when the nose smells something that's burning, it goes, ew, no. Keep me away from that. Or if it's one of those people that hate the smell of cilantro, who in here does not like cilantro? What happens when you smell it or you taste it? Oh, yeah. It's like the greatest insult to the soul, Yeah, I personally love cilantro, but could eat it by the bucket loads. Oh, I love it. You see, right there, preference. I will run to it, Kel will run away from it, and that will separate us forever. For sure. So we get caught up in these crazy preferences of ours, And so in yoga, we work to move beyond the reaction of the preference and into an understanding that the preference, in some ways, is based in our subconscious programming, believe it or not. Now, scientists have shown that a like or dislike this is pretty powerful. Science has shown that a like or a dislike of things like cilantro are actually based in our genetic coding. But what's our genetic coding based in? It's based in the subconscious programming of the people who came before us, called our parents, our grandparents, and our great-great-grandparents. Our genetic coding is based in epigenetics, based in everything that happened prior to now, that we carry forward in this life. And so, I don't like cilantro. Or I love it. Yeah. Everything is interconnected. So to come to understand that gives us a little bit of a breath of freedom to be able to look at certain behaviors that we think are descriptive of who we are, and to look at those and to say, do I really need that opinion? Do I really need that preference? Is it really serving me? Is it really? I know so many students who hate the rain. They hate the rain. They can't stand the rain. The rain really bothers them. Yeah, people who I've talked with about this, and they've been like, yeah, I don't know why, but like it rains, and I'm like, oh, what do I do to get over that? I fall into this like deep depression, this like, I don't want to do anything. I can't stand the rain. And I say, what do you think I say? Who knows me really well? What was that? Exactly. Go out in the rain. Go stand in the rain. and find out why you don't like it. And 9 out of 10 come back and say, oh my God, I love the rain. It's like the subconscious programming of the mind tells you that you like something and you don't know. Tells you that you don't like something and you don't know. It's based on a memory of something that was probably misinterpreted to begin with, sorry. But it's the truth for all of us that most of our beliefs are based in some long ago memory that we don't even remember accurately. But we've decided this is the way it is. How much of your life could you change right now if you had a better understanding of what you hold on to and why you hold on to it? How much of yourself could you free for the sake of freedom and love? So amazing. So amazing. Any other thoughts or questions? So I'd like to bring you through a very short meditation. And this meditation, for those who are here with the retreat, you'll use your affirmation that you worked on this weekend. And for those who are just coming in today, and this is all like, wow, completely different and new, I'll give you a very simple affirmation. I love myself. That will be your affirmation. I love myself. And if you're not comfortable with that one, then say, I forgive myself. That will be your affirmation. Either I love myself or I forgive myself. And for those who have not meditated before, and for those on Facebook, I love myself or I forgive myself. This meditation may seem a little interesting. Just have an experience. Don't be judgmental. Okay. So sit up nice and tall. Sit up nice and tall and close the eyes. Be comfortable in your seat. Try not to fidget. Take a few mindful breaths. Breathe in and out. Notice that you're breathing in and out. Notice that you're breathing in and out, and breathe calmly and quietly with awareness. Allow yourself to arrive in this moment. Keeping the eyes closed, place the right palm of the hand over the forehead. Elbow is out to the side. Place the left hand palm into the back of the head, about the height of the forehead. Elbow out to the side. And just feel the energy from the palms of the hands. And the hands are parallel to the floor, palms in, elbows out. And just feel the energy moving through the skull, into the brain, connecting with the internal energy of your being. Notice the energy emanating from the palms into the head and brain. Notice the energy emanating through the Agnya chakra, through the third eye center between the eyebrows, which is associated with wisdom, knowing, intuition, imagination, and insight. Notice that the front hand is emanating energy into the frontal lobe of the brain, which is associated with cognitive function and movement. And notice that the back hand is emanating energy into the occipital lobe, which is associated with vision, the ability to see. Remain relaxed and call to mind your affirmation. If your affirmation is, I forgive myself, then see yourself as forgiven. If your affirmation is, I love myself, see yourself as loved and lovable. Whatever your affirmation is, whatever your wish is, see it as happening. See the situation as completely and consistently resolved. See this resolution with as much uplifting and positive detail as possible. See yourself forgiven. See yourself loved. See yourself strong. See yourself as embodying the essence of your affirmation. Recognize the energy of that resolution. And state out loud either what has been resolved, for example, I have now forgiven myself, or state out loud, the matter is resolved. Repeat that 3 times. Notice any and all emotions that surface. Now state the emotions out loud repeatedly as they surface. For example, joy, relief, comfort. And continue this practice for the next 45 seconds until my next instruction, repeating out loud the emotions that are coming up as a result of resolution. Now repeat 9 times. This is my new truth and my new reality. This is my new truth and my new reality. This is my new truth and my new reality. This is my new truth and my new reality. This is my new truth and my new reality. This is my new truth and my new reality. This is my new truth and my new reality. This is my new truth and my new reality. This is my new truth and my new reality. With your hand still on your head, softly open the eyes and begin to shift your vision from right to left without moving your head and then left to right, back and forth from side to side, marrying the left and right hemispheres of the brain to each other, so that you have the benefit of receiving your affirmation and your intention with both sides of the brain, the logic and the creativity. Repeat that for a few more times. And then close the eyes, bring the eyes to center, release the hands down into Anjali Mudra in front of the heart. Together we'll lift our voices in one beautiful Om. Take a nice breath in. And bowing the head toward the heart, acknowledging all that is, all that ever was, all that ever will be. Having gratitude for all, love for all, peace for all, unity for all. And draw the face back to center. Flutter the eyes open. Release the hands. And so before we end this portion of the morning, I would like to say that meditation becomes a habit if you choose it to be. 2-3 times a day. It takes about 3 minutes. What that practice does is rewires your brain away from the subconscious, pre-existing belief structure and behavior structure to new neural pathways. It actually helps to develop new neural pathways, new understandings based on what you consciously choose for yourself. So in this way, you practice this for 30 days, several times every day, and begin to overwrite the belief of unworthiness for the understanding of worthiness, the belief of hate for the belief of love, the belief of being very small and insubstantial, to being radiant and full, the way you are in the life you have. Because God would not have created you to be unworthy. Whatever you call that, if it has created you in its image, are you going to tell me that it's unworthy? That it's full of hate? That it's full of violence? No. So if you have faith that you are like that, why on earth would you be? This practice of meditation gives you the opportunity to begin to resolve that misunderstanding into a place of greater peace, greater love, and greater connection. So, I'm so full of gratitude to be able to sit here with each of you today. So wonderful to come to know you, to share the space with you. And sometimes students ask, why do you make eye contact with every person after session? Because my heart wants your heart to know that it is seen and that I love you so deeply and so profoundly. And that's going to end this part of the session. So namaste to everyone.